In 15 minutes, I want to share on what I've learned from solution sales. In this module, it has opened my eyes to something rather new. And that's because I've never considered sales to be as strategic as something linked to all the functions in my company. It starts off with the first assignment questions, which really hit everything on the nail, which is want me to think about in sales, is there such a thing as product sales and solution sales, and is there a difference? I used to think that they are not have to be different, but this module sensitized me to think of a difference. I would summarize it this way. I used to think of it's always me. I have a good product and you should buy it. Tell me a reason why you shouldn't buy, why you don't buy. I was thinking along those lines until when we think about solution sales, it's no longer just me, but let's move towards a we. We will involve a you. You is the customer. So it's a more customer-centric thing. It reminds me of how we, attitude-wise, think about and did omni-channel. So this is a continuation. Solution sales has the customer's needs at the center of everything. It is very congruent to how we have been treating digital marketing all this while. But marketing now have another important word, which is sales, which is a good neighbor to marketing. Makes me think of it that way, and I appreciate how the assessment is being structured. Makes me think in terms of a few dimensions, from focus to customer role and how my approach has been. What is the value proposition? I think in terms of my company, CAEC, and we have certain product and we used to think of product centric. We used to think that one-time sale is better than no sale, but solution sales makes me think of something ongoing, which is what we always said that we want to do, but never get down to doing it. In the next slide, it becomes clearer when I have to make a choice on the third column. It's not just knowing the difference, but having to make a choice. I still have deep respect for product because that's what we have, but what the other party or customer needs is the important part too. Otherwise, there's no two hands we can't clap at all. So it begins to make me think of a bridge between two things: the product sales part of what I do and the solution sales of it. When combined, it becomes a lot more dynamic. And that's how we begin to look at things, especially when I start to think of it as a canvas. As a canvas. So again, still from my company point of view, we want to use a canvas with 7 parts to see us more as a strategic position rather than just one-off sales. We appreciated that, and that's why we force ourselves to just fill in this one, starting from who are we serving, customer segment. That is the toughest one, I think, because it seems like we can serve everybody. The reality is far from it. We therefore think of professionals seeking breakthroughs. So those in transition doesn't mean they are in between jobs. It means they are transiting to another level. Helps me look at the problems worth solving, which is they're not good, they're not ground zero, they just want to go higher. In other words, these are the people who don't think they can be the best, but they can always be better. When you think of it that way, we think of solutions we can give. The keyword now doesn't become a measurement of how good you are, but how well you transform. Transformation becomes the key thing we are giving. Our product, on the surface, our workshops, our speechcraft programs making you a better speaker. But what for? Oh, now we know. It's for transformation. We know that we're not alone, so we look at the competition. But more importantly, is what's so unique about us, the UVP. We begin to think of ourselves as a transformational partner in your bilingual expression. Okay, we know that we've got to pay a price for this, trying to promise so much. But before that, we start looking at the channels that we have been using. We are more inclined towards the channels that we are comfortable with to begin with, those with higher touch points, and especially those with a referral element to it. But that's not without understanding part 7, the customer buying journey, which we see that is one thing after another, not straight away to the end. There's an important reminder to ourselves. Too often, because we think we know our own product, that people should just buy it right away. But that's the journey. And I think very importantly in solution sales is objections keep coming up in the subsequent assessments. So we begin to now hold this part with more focus now. Always had wanted to run away from it, but well, we're going to start looking at objections a bit more. So we cannot ignore it. But finally, it's still money matters. We need to understand that is there high enough lifetime value from these professionals in transition, seeking breakthroughs. We give it a 4 star. I wish that it is 5, but we'll settle with 4 for now. makes us want to think of our position statement. I put it here. It is still a mouthful, but at least it makes us think of what is it that we can do for people. So I appreciate this template. Otherwise, we'll be a lot more verbose. These 3 points that I list here informs us that we're going to put our focus on showing that we are worth it. Yeah, so respective, these are all these 3 which we put into a table, and we even weight it. Weight it as in using number of stars to tell us what first thing first. First thing first is this broad thing called building long-term customer relationship. But the objective or the outcome you want out of it is to be able to retain them. We believe, therefore, that retaining them give us more benefits than unceasingly, unendingly acquiring customers, right? The return on retention is a lot more. Knowing that, we therefore understand where the emotional part, storytelling part of our UVP comes in, and we also know that we rely a lot on the social proof. All this culminates in why we should harness solution sales a lot more. Therefore, appreciate assignment 2, which is focused on sales content. We used to think that sales content is just blah 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 product features. No, it is in fact the conversation. But we know that in assignment 2, we want to look back at omni channel to use it to harness more out of our product. We begin to like this more because we are not seeing things as silo but as an integration. We therefore look at the stages in which the customers can be converted, starting from lead generation. But we are also reminded that apart from the actions we have, actually is what is it that we are applying to. Therefore, we like the last column best because this forces me and my managers to focus on what are we doing, not just theoretical. We like to put this on the table and begin to get a hang of it. So the stages go from 3, 4, 5. These are something that we have done. The journey of acquiring our customers. More importantly, is then what are we doing about it? So the last column, yeah, is essentially what brings the company and the managers together, because we're doing this and we know we're doing this for what. It sounds like a good revision, but essentially is to gel things together. A lot of this stuff, like for example the key metric like NPS, renewal, referral, will come back to haunt us in the sense of we got to own up to it and not just put it into the table itself. We begin to think more of the 7th, which is again what we say, we are good enough to create an alumni where cross referrals will come in, therefore building that circle of people. After all, transformation is only complete when someone has someone else to relate to and get help from. So we create a circle out of this. We're reminded of this, and in a way we are humbled by that. Hence, when we think in terms of the content and the strategy itself, we don't think of it as just marketing fluff. It is the conversation. When we think of the conversation, we know there are 2 parts to a conversation, you and me, therefore making a we. So back to the we think again. But at least this digital sales content platform make us again go back to awareness, I go on, to interest. These are familiar stuff, but it's gelling together, evaluation, decision. But what is important, I think, is this, retention. Because we begin to know that retention matters a lot, we rely on advocacy. So the same table here, when we come to the 4th stage, we begin to understand the platform we are using is not because it's homework, but because it works. And that is very key. We begin also to think of what is our tonality, what KPI we want. Because we know ultimately we will come to a certain assignment, which is actually part of our daily life of what needs to be measured. But at least we know why are we measuring it, what is the intent. So a table like this help our managers know where we are focusing ourselves to. We also therefore put it into a table to show what are the key themes that we represent. That's the first column. But we are also thinking of, we need to put it as its content into its narrative. So putting in like this make us check back. It is not an end all and be all, but at least it reminds us. So is this extra slide. I call it extra because it's just reminding us of other things that we have done. How does it put it together for the same purpose that we are doing? It makes us look at the platforms that we are using. Is it just earlier modules and no more relevant? Actually, no, they come back again. So things are integrated. But as soon as we think it's integrated, we have to face up to another thing, which is what is the integration challenges. It's not my favorite topic, but we have to own up that we don't want to be just a boutique doing our own things, everything all handmade. We want to be tech enabled, but at the same time, still always very human. It seems like a contradiction, but we're beginning to find some thrill in marrying them. So first up, we got to face up to the challenges. System, fragmented workflow. My pet peeve always has been the data doesn't talk because they are always fragmented. So we are therefore reminded that so long as our data is fragmented, so will the customer experience. We always say that we want a cohesiveness in the omni-channel so that we get insights, but most of the time we don't. We can blame the system, but essentially we need our homework to be done. And we're beginning to see that in this slide here, so much information, but I just highlight this thing. The data hygiene protocol, which is housekeeping. Never have I done a good housekeeping, so I can blame nobody, but essentially, all tech will work when our housekeeping catches up. But housekeeping is easy to do at the beginning. After a while, it won't work anymore. So this exercise actually made me think of much as all this high fluff thing we are talking about. If the basic housekeeping is not done since day one, after a while, we can only invent a lot of excuses. But root of it is your data really working for you? And a lot of problems look like surface. The risk of no follow-ups because no one updated CRM. Yeah, because nobody updated, so there's no point following up. It doesn't work. It doesn't mean we don't use it, but at least we now respect, we are humbled by the basic work. It's just this one word, housekeeping, and everything else would flow a lot more. A lot of the time, it's not we don't want to use it, it's because, well, it doesn't work. And instead of finger pointing, we'd rather focus on what ultimately got us started. So in this slide, we want to make us face up to the challenge which we dig for ourselves. We say we are bilingual, we can tell stories, but it in itself, when translated into text sense, presents its own challenge because it's not one language, but it's two. It's not sensitivity to one, but to more than one, both. Everything else, therefore, will make sense as we are more disciplined in doing it. In order to help us with discipline, we find that LinkedIn Sales Navigator comes in handy because we find that it's not just somewhere to dig for sales. It actually, in itself, is a fairly complete relationship intelligence engine. It has worked for a lot of people. Definitely, it can work for me, my company. Since we already have swung by the omni-channel solution and now solution sales, marrying both, so why not we use something that is already readily available? Yeah, and these are the features. So I will jump straight quickly into three features that kind of make me really open my eyes. First thing is a spotlight filter, which is people who have some common experience with me for the last 30 over years that I've graduated from the school that I graduated, from the professional associations and affiliations I have. We start with that because it's a low-lying fruits in a sense. Another feature comes in very handy in LinkedIn, and there's alerts, which is Gepo, right? Gepo, busybody for a purpose, because we know that people have some change in situations, in their work status and so on, and therefore we can follow up with something engaging. It's engaging because it's click to what's happening with them. We find that such alerts for job changes and so on are very useful. Another feature is InMail, which actually, well, we know wherever we're going to pay for it, and since we pay for it, why not send all this email to the people who are like-minded and allowing InMail? For example, therefore, I highlight this in yellow, that I ask for a warm introduction. Always a lot better. And there is this principle of everybody knows everybody via 6 other people. So why not try it out in LinkedIn? I can practically know anyone I want to know through someone I know, and so on and so forth. Warm introduction. We find that LSN, therefore, can help us quite a bit on it. Yeah, quite a bit on it. We are also seeing it as integrated. Therefore, these arrows here in bold at the header is to lead, right, to things that we do. So starting with, we can use the LSN to identify intent, but still we have to deliver what we promise, which is transformation. In the end, we can summarize that LSN is not a database, it's a conversation engine. And why not we use it? Of course, we know that this is something that we tap that is readily available. Soon, we will have to think about what if we customize, but that's fine. Before that happens, go one step further with LSN. Is there a way to craft message? Always thought that we are very good conversationists, but we go all over the place. So in this part of the assignment, we are made to think through how do we talk with sense. I am most humbled by this part that I highlight in yellow. Would you be open to a quick 15-minute call this week? Something I always forget, but still very important. It's a call to action, soft yet effective. Therefore, When I put it into a summary, remind our managers of what to look out for and why we are doing it. Therefore, every message, you can be creative about it, but it has to follow certain execution points. We are therefore very happy with it. Since we are happy with it, we're going to go on to the next thing, which is to lead and the lead and the account qualification framework. We know this is not really what we like, but we got to think of whether we can understand ourselves more. So in this assignment, we use someone else. Is it someone of another company who sells cloud-based HR CRM solution? We let them challenge us. In what sense we are their ideal customer, in that sense, to understand more about ourselves when we ultimately see ICP, and also to consider, should we build something, getting their help. Okay, and here to be complete, we think in the shoes of this account manager of a tech company providing services that we should need. We are in the realm of the L&D firms, but there are others which I also listed here. We put ourselves as the most significant in terms of what this chap is trying to go for, because they understand that we have fragmented data and we are fairly manual. We want to go for something unified. Yeah, it is my pain point. So when we zoom in here, the yellow parts here is what we see. We want to talk to these people more, essentially like this. Take note that this is reversed, because always we think of ourselves internally. Now we're getting someone else who are pitching business to us. We ask ourselves, why are we their ideal? How are they thinking? So in this way, we apply it to our own alignment when we talk internally to our people and to our investors. We find this exercise very useful. It also makes our HR now of a higher standing, because it's no longer administrative. They are actually something that can really fulfill our talent ecosystem. But it needs to come with a blend of HR using CRM. Once you think of it that way, we must think of, okay, could there be something else? Could we be actually putting something together ourselves? So this subsequent bold attempt comes in this very big sheet of table where we have band, champ, names which I didn't know before, but because of this exercise, we could look at them. We could even grade them using stars. We even try to think of, if we build something proprietary with the help of this other company, could we give it a name? Yeah, we call it Align, fanciful name. But most importantly, it makes us as a company and my managers to think of what are the criteria. Yeah, the criteria that help them, they help us, they helped our customers. Start with ease of use all the way to all relationship orientation. This exercise, all 10 criteria, very useful. Doesn't matter we put too many stars on one or the other, but at least we got it thinking. And when we put it into a summary in our own particular context, we're able to see what are the important dimensions. Should never elude us, whether we go IT or not. But essentially we should, because we are able to think through. And for this exercise, we think that we should be bold enough to create our own. We give it a name. We call it Align Q, because it summarizes all the important things that other systems have done, including this vendor who is trying to pitch to us. Therefore, it makes us more resolved with what are we doing in the first place. We don't are not a tech company, but we harness tech. Now, finally, our people got to go out and sell. But we know that it is not going to be like a pitch, because everybody avoids it, putting a wall. But we want to create an invitation to a shared journey. We've always said that. So now is the time that we put it into a script. We think through a structure, and here it is, very useful as a guideline, especially those who find that they can't sell. But the really test is, come on, show the script. I highlight some yellow part. It's also a fanciful way to remind my managers that, hey, actually we have a model. HEART, standing for Human Enterprise Align, Review, Transform. In fact, we give 2 bonus points as well. So on the first column here is essentially the dimension you need to go for. And we explain why it is important, what are the elements. We leave them to craft it themselves. We provide a sales script that if you really need to rely to, it can look like this. So what I highlight in yellow are some of the key things that we verbalized. We particularly like this part about objection handling because we're weak at it. So we need to create a kind of positive language, not push away, of accepting objection and turning into an opportunity. So all these HEART plus 2 more points, all 7 of them becomes a very good checklist. We have the script and people feel free to change it. But we know ultimately it's not just what we say, it's how we make people feel when they hear us. We know all this, we always said it, but the script really gives us a test because it's not so easy to create it, but never mind. Now, we ask ourselves, we meet objections.
It's okay, you can stop here. I
Yes.
think just go on to the last assignment. All right, I think this one is quite clear.
Quite clear. Okay, good.
To the last assignment, just talk about
Yeah.
a bit about the objection. Just give one reason. And then
Yes. Good. One reason.
One objection actually how you actually handle this particular objection.
Okay. When we object to other people,
you're told to 5, right? So just take one.
this one, okay.
Yeah.
We are faced with objections all the time. I focus on one. The most obvious is, wow, expensive. Sounds great, but more expensive than the rest. We know that because we state it to other people as well. So to us, important is to understand what is the underlying meaning. Yeah, it just they didn't know the value. It's not that they can't pay. Nobody want to say that they can't pay, but they really want to know the value. So once we understand it, we want to let them understand that what you're paying for something that is of a premium of the boutique. It helps you achieve your goals. Yeah, and we show something long term, because if it's short term, everything is expensive. If it's long term, everything is worth it. So we understand how the objection, the obvious one on price is, and that help us think of other things as well. Yeah, in fact, I have other lists, but yes, I shall be brief. So in summary, every objection serves as a mirror. A mirror let us see clearer. Once we see clearer, we have opportunities. Yeah. So in yellow is also another of the response we have. It helps as a reminder to our people. Yeah. Essentially, we know that we need to be positive. Don't just push away because there'll be no end. We're able to summarize that people don't really reject us based on price. Yeah, they just reject being uncertain about things because they don't want to underwrite uncertainty. Yeah. Therefore, they are just risk averse. Just like ourselves, we can see that we are a mirror ourselves. Therefore, we actually become more interested to receive objection, because objections give us a chance to really work something out. Okay, should I go on this as well?
It's okay. I think you can stop here.
Okay.
So you can stop sharing, Terry.
Okay, good.
Alright, Terry, yours is a very comprehensive presentation. Alright, excellent. Alright, I will say that it's really as if you're actually presenting to stakeholders.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure if you give more time, it will be much more interesting.
Yeah.
So very good job. Alright, well done.
Thank you.
I have no questions for you.